So this is something that I studied actually. For my PhD work, I lived in Ecuador for a year and a half, and I worked with the Catholic Church. And I was particularly interested in how priests and nuns organized life in their parishes to kind of promote more of a communitarian way of living, so that when people would act in a more communitarian way in groups, and as opposed to in an individualist way, because there's a lot of power in groups, especially among people who don't have a lot of resources. So when you think about morality, think about what's right and what's good, and what's wrong and what's bad. Everything that we do in life, every interaction we have with people, every conversation we have with people, we're making decisions about what's good for us and about what's good for them, or what's good for us versus what's good for people around us. So for me, for example, I am always thinking in moral terms in this room, because I think constantly about what I want, and then I think about what you want. And I think about what I think is good, but then I think about, or what is bad, and I think about, well, what do you think is good and bad? And somehow we have to come to these kinds of agreements. And human beings live in this state of balance between what's good for oneself and what's good for the other people. And some people are more oriented toward other people, meaning when they think about their actions and when they have ideas about their thoughts, they orient their thinking toward others around them. And other people are more oriented toward themselves. So they think about, what's good for me, before they think about other people. And both are fine. Both are good. You know what I mean? It's like if we live in an individualist system and everybody simply takes responsibility for themselves, and everybody in that system only acts for themselves and what they need and what they want, in a way, if every single person was, as we talk about, selfish, self-oriented, the system runs perfectly fine, because everybody just does what they need, and if something goes wrong, they're responsible for it, and they take responsibility and they accept responsibility. And you can live in a system in which everybody is operating for everybody else. So everything we do, we're in it together. We're thinking about what other people need. They're thinking about what I need. We're constantly in this state of back and forth, of community, a communitarian orientation. Most people lean one way or the other, like those of you. Some of you are your roommates. Some people just do the dishes all the time. They're dirty dishes. They just come in and they do it. Some people never do dishes. You have roommates, some of you have roommates, or some of you never do any dishes. You just somehow expect everybody else around you, your roommates, are going to just do it. Like maybe your mothers or your fathers did dishes at home. And you're just like, yeah, whatever. You don't think about it because you're thinking about yourself. And other people are constantly thinking about other people. Cultures are the same way. Some cultures are oriented toward individualism, and some cultures are oriented toward communitarianism, meaning that most people in the culture, most of the time, are thinking about the needs of other people and what other people desire and what other people want. And in the individualist culture, most people, most of the time, are really just thinking about themselves. And so, cultures are always going back and forth, but there is a definite orientation toward the other in some culture, or toward the community, and a definite orientation toward the individual in other communities. I have this person in Korea that is constantly sending me videos of examples of communitarian orientation among Koreans. This is an example. I took a screenshot of this video where a truck spilled over on the streets in Busan, and people stopped and they got out of their cars and they helped gather all the fruit and put it back in the boxes, and they put it back on the truck, and the truck moved on. Nobody took anything. There was no frenzy. There was nothing. I got a video of also in Korea where money fell out of a truck, and people just got together. They got the money together and they put it back, and the truck went on its way. Nobody took anything. And this also happens in the United States, in a place like the US. But what we often see here is people just go in and they grab, because it's an individualist orientation. And that kind of thing you almost never, ever would see in a place like Korea. You might see the communitarianism here, along with the individualism, but you almost would never see that type of individualist behavior in a place like Korea. So it's a very different way of seeing. So as we're having class today, I want you to just be thinking about what it's like. What would it be like if I grew up? And some of you have grown up in more communitarian-oriented cultures, but just think about, what it's like if I grew up in that way.